Hi. So I'm doing a lot of psychic scans and reading into people's past lives. Why do they have some issues? Why do they have entity attachments? And just looking into, like people are like, why am I so suppressed? Why do you have all these issues in life? So we're looking into all of that. And I've encountered a really interesting case that I thought I will share. And it's specifically directed, well, I just saw this. So it's just like, it's the first time seeing it. But for a lot of people who are looking at the angelic figures, spirit guides, archangels, and all. This was, I'm not even sure how to present it, but anyway, so this lady seems to have plenty of thoughts. So it's like always easy to say, like, okay, mindfulness, quiet mind, all this stuff, but why does all the thinking happen is because of entities. But then she's like massively suppressed in lots of ways, and at the same time, while being psychic, she is not receiving any help from other ET groups. If we were to look at the Pleiadians, or the Gettons, or Irma, or like Lyrans and Arcturians, and all these groups, it's like they refuse to communicate with her or help her out. So we're looking into this issue like, why is this happening? Why does she get this pushback or gets ignored? Because usually those guys, they can read us, they can connect to us, they will advise us, they will help us one way or the other, or at least like give us a direction. But like this is a complete isolation one way or the other. So ignored by what we would call the good side and attacked by the dark side, as we assume. And so this lady, she gets abducted by the Greys. There's also some connection to the secret space program, to the MyLab experiences, thriller agencies, but mainly the Greys. And they have created an image. Basically, they abduct her, mind control her, and then she ends up doing things against her own free will. She's used in hybrid programs, and at the same time, while we're looking at the hybrid programs, one thing that stands out is that they make her look motherly like. And when people are dreaming, having lucid dreams, or they get out of body, or they astral project, some people encounter angelic beings. Some people encounter spirit guides. Some people encounter this loving woman who is kind and generous and feels healing. And these Greys have found, well, they know us. They know that like people are trying to find ways of detecting red flags and avoiding any possible issues. To no longer get in possible soul traps, to no longer getting abducted, yada yada yada. With this woman, they're using her image because in real life she's kind, she's generous, she's like really giving, and they use that because they know this is what people connect to. That kindness, that love, that gentle spirit who is so joyous and like really taking care of everyone around her. And they take her and use that state and in her astral body use her as a puppet. And so where people are falling asleep and they get into the dreamscapes, where the dreamscape is a little bit altered, controlled. And then that woman is made like appears in someone else's dreamscape, and she is acting like a spirit guide. She appears as an angelic figure. She has this, like, if you were in a dream and saw a beautiful woman who was kind and loving, and you were in her presence and you're like melting with how good it feels. And it feels safe, zero red flags, complete calmness, not a single bad thought. And you're just drawn to that. You're like, wow, this lady's amazing. And they use that. They take our traits that are really strong on our side, something that we're all about. For some people, it's taking care of someone else. For some people, it's loving. For some people, it's that kindness. But it is something positive we have that is being used as a bait. And when you give into that presence, it is very similar to inviting a vampire or a devil into your house. You need to give a permission. Once you talk to that lady, you just see that figure. And it's like angelic form, spirit guide like, this warm, loving soul that you connect to, and she talks to you, she teaches. It's not like she comes in with, let me teach you stuff. She's like, how can I help you? She will connect to you, and because that lady is psychic, because she has all those abilities, she can access your stuff. So you encounter her, maybe. And she can access your issues. And she's like, wow, you're hurt. You've been through a lot. You're the black sheep of the family. You've been ignored for a while. How can I help you? And she finds a way to get within your spirit, to get within your soul, your consciousness, your Akashic records. Find something that will really get you to drop your guard or connect, like, wow, someone that understands me, someone knows what I'm going through, someone is willing to listen and help. And you kind of give in. You drop that shield, you don't see the red flags, and you accept her. And you start communicating. And you start going with that. She's not gonna teach you stuff in a way where, well, this is your issue, so I'm gonna give you this technique and here's what we're gonna do. But she's gonna be really loving. She's gonna hug you if you accept it. Her presence is so loving and warm and gentle, where you're just sitting in front of her or next to her, and there's this calmness, and it feels so good. And it's not like on drugs or if as if there was a siren that gets you all dizzy and Hanson ways. But she just her presence, the original being, but at the same time a little bit amplified. And when you give into that presence and you start communicating and letting it in, it's like through her, you just gave an access, a permission for the SSP or the Grace to actually mess with you. This lady, though used against her own free will, True Grace and the SSP target certain people. And it's usually those that are a bit more psychic, a bit more aware about what's going on in the world. Usually people who have a certain DNA, like the blue blood or the royal family or something special. And it's in a way trying to suppress those kind of people, targeting them, trying to get into their space. So if you're like looking like, oh, I have this RH plus or RH like negative blood type, and you're looking into your background and your relatives and like connections to royal families and stuff, some bigger groups, Rothschilds and like little things like that, and all of a sudden you dream about this like woman who's so loving and gentle, and she's just singing and really gets warm in your presence. It's quite likely that that figure, that angelic being, that spirit guide like, is actually being used to manipulate you, get you into the programs, so that, they would alter you, mess with you, clone you, and do other kind of negative stuff. So it's like interesting because like a lot of times when people encounter spirit guides and angelic beings, and though we know that when people pass away, or sometimes in dreams, entities and other beings will try to appear as someone like we know. They will try to have this figure that will help us to connect. But you can usually tell because you see the red flags, the essence, the energy doesn't fit. They can mimic the image, but not the presence. But this time, what stood out to me is that it was like true person. And it was that person's energy that was being used. So, an interesting case. Looking forward to talking to this person more, just exploring what's going on and all. But I thought, like, it's worth sharing. And maybe you have encountered something similar. I'm not saying that all angelic beings are bad, all the spirit guides are bad. It's good for us to have this sort of awareness to communicate, to see what they're all about. Some people are like, yay, they're pro for it. Some people are like, never. And, it's like always 50-50. You juggle, you try to evaluate who it is and is it trying to help you or not. But it's an interesting case, and like if anyone has experienced anything like it, please share in the comments. Like it's quite interesting. So anyway, just sharing some of the findings that seem a bit more interesting than usual because you read tons of emails, you read tons of stories, and it's like a lot of people have things in common. So like I thought this one stood out a bit more than others. Anyway, yeah, if you have any interest, if you want to hear more of these stories, please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Take care.